What is better? Fighter 3's or Jet 2's? Hold off here, guys. I can hear you screaming, okay? You're screaming at the screen. You're like, of course. It's the jet fighter, right? They're more advanced technology, right? It's not as clear as that because we have more agility on the fighter plane than when you have the jet. But the jet has more speed. And also, there's a massive difference in fuel consumption on the jet. Production cost is significantly higher for the fighter as well. So the question is this, guys. If 2,000 Fighter 3's took on 2,000 of Jet 2's, who would win? That is the question. Let's find out. Poland will have the Jet 2 and Germany will have the Fighter 3. So here we are, 2,000 Fighter 3's. They're rookies, no extra bonuses. We're just going to put them on air superiority and put them over Western Poland. Why not up the ante, guys? 10,000 versus 10,000, right? 10,000 versus 10,000. Okay, to make it fair so we know when it runs out of fuel, we're going to add loads and loads of fuel silos. It's like a amount of fuel that will never basically end. All right, so here we are, 10,000 Fighter 3's. They're all rookies with no officer corps. Oh, we actually have the first battlefield support. That's really frustrating, actually. Hang on. Oh, whoa, what's this exploits? I've literally broken the game. I can't even believe it. What is happening? Yeah, we'll do the same for Poland. I suppose if it's equal, isn't it? All right then, lads. Here we are. We finally made it. It's taken a long time to reach this point, but here we are. The battle for Western Poland. We have 10,000 Jet 2 fighters for Poland. Same doctrines, no officer corps, in the exact same position. We've turned weather off as well. Then, on Germany's side, the same doctrines. We have 10,000 Fighter 3's. 10,000. This is to decide who is the winner. So, no CB, declare war. The AI is turned off. Let's start off and see what happens. Here we have the Battle of Western Poland. A very interesting alt history scenario. The most historical game. And here we are. They've launched. Germany at war again? I know, right? Here we go. Wow, here we go, guys. The first tick, 25 losses for Germany, 18 losses for Poland. We are going to get spammed with aces. Let's turn off the pop-ups. And here we go. So right now, it does look like Poland has an advantage. So if we hover over the stats here, we can see, man, it's almost a trade 2-for-1 on the side of Poland. So you can see here, the enemy has less air defense, but they have more agility and overall more speed. Am I reading that correctly? Our average air attack is higher than their air defense. Our average ability is higher than theirs. I always really struggle to read these. So the big advantage here, the only clear advantage is that they have more air attack than we have air defense, and that seems to be breaking through. There is a very slight advantage for Poland. It's not a massive advantage though. It's not a massive one. So let's go 5 speed now and let's really chew through it. Oh, look at this. The ratios are actually closer right now. So initially, when we went to war, it was a 1-for-2 ratio. So 40 losses for Germany with 20 losses for Poland. But now the ratios are actually getting closer. And it actually looks like the Fighter 3 has overtaken the jet. This is not what I expected. So remember, the jet fighters are overall more expensive. They require loads of tungsten, but require like slightly less aluminium. So let's have a look. How many aces have we got here? We have a few. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh no. Oh no. There's loads of aces. Let's see if Poland are rolling any aces. No, they're getting a lot of aces too. Oh my God, they've got more. They've got loads. Huge amount. And lots of dead ones too. Oh, Poland has run out of fuel. Okay, let's fix that. Let's fix that. There's so many other variables you have to take into account for this. So many variables. So what's actually happened here, guys, to explain it? It looks like Poland was winning with the jet fighters. But what happened is Poland run out of fuel. So they're suffering from a big penalty in the air. So right now, I've just given like 100,000 fuel to Poland. Let's see how that changes things. And oh, this is not a big change. The fuel hits 0 immediately. What is happening? Okay, they need a lot of fuel. Okay, so one thing we've discovered so far, guys, Jet 2's require so much freaking fuel. Oh, things have changed now. So we have yellow air for the Polish, and it looks like now the ratios have slightly moved back over to the Polish. All right, let's hop back over to Germany. So now the reverse has happened now. It seems like Poland's got the advantage again, just solely based on the fuel. And the ratios of 2-for-1 have resumed. So we pause here for a second. 37 losses of Fighter 3's, 21 losses for the Jets. So the Jets have almost like a 2-for-1 ratio against the fighters. Now, a few people in the chat are like screaming at me saying that this is not a fair test. I agree completely. The fuel thing I messed up with is huge. And it just looked like there's a little bit more air detection on the Polish side, probably because it's friendly territory. But by looks of things, things, even take into account those variables, it doesn't look like it's made a great deal of difference. Overall, it looks like the Jet 2s are way superior. So it looks like right now the Jet 2 is the winner. But remember, this isn't a fair test. There's like 2 variables that messed up on the fuel, the extra fighter detection based on being in friendly Polish territory, which makes sense. The real factor that this isn't a fair test is I've not done a 1-for-1 ratio when it comes down to production cost. So if we were to make this a 1-for-1 same production cost for either plane, what would the outcome be? That is the big question. All right, we can conclude in this specific scenario, it does look like Poland have won. Kind of. All right, so let's make it a 1-for-1 production cost. So the Fighter 3 has a production cost of 28. 28 times 10,000, 280,000 production cost. Question is, how many fighters is that? We divide that by 32, right? So that would be equivalent of 8,750 Jet 2s. All right, let's do exactly that. 8,750, boom. All right, so now we have air superiority, 8,750 versus 10,000 Fighter 3s. So the production cost now is 1-for-1. This will take the same amount of time to produce 8,750 Jet 2s versus Fighter 3s, which have 10,000. We're going to do it over the lower Baltic, so there'll be no air advantage. Make sure we've got more air crews for maximum air efficiency. And we can also go for centralized control, so the max air efficiency. We'll do that for Germany as well. Max fuel. Everyone go over the lower Baltic. Here we go, guys. 1-for-1, exactly the same doctrines, same production cost, 1-for-1, Jet 2 versus Fighter 3. The battle of the Titans begins, and off we go. Who will strike the first blow? And we have Amber Air, and first blow is 36 losses from Fighter 3 and 24 losses for the Jet 2. Interesting. So remember, there's an attack advantage based on the more numbers, but remember, there is a combat width advantage. Now, I understand there's a few variables that could change this outcome. For instance, I've gone for 1,000 air wing size for each fighter wing, just for convenience, just for micromanagement perspective. But overall, the numbers now production-wise are the same. The only thing that should make the difference here are the overall stats. So right now, the losses for the Fighter 3 are absolutely massive, and they are coming down significantly faster than the Jet 2s. And we're about to reach the cross point, and the Jets have now overtaken the Fighter 3s. But now, this is really interesting, that the fighters are losing more and more and more. It seems like there's more momentum of losses of the Fighter 3s than the Jets. There's like a tipping point. When you reach a certain number, a certain ratio, it reaches a certain point that the number of Fighter 3s just goes into a massive nosedive. Literal nosedive, literally. Plain nosediving. Let's just hop on to Poland and see if there's no shenanigans happening. Oh no, they've run out of fuel! But it doesn't even matter. That's really interesting. Even though Poland's run out of fuel, they're still dumpstering the German planes. If I give them the fuel now, you'll see a massive change. And then you get straight away, the Jets start to annihilate the Fighter 3s. Absolutely annihilating them. So the final piece of the puzzle here, guys, is how do the stats directly compare? So we're looking at a Fighter 3 compared to a Jet 2. I suppose a nice comparison would be Fighter 3 versus the Jet 1 to see the difference. And I think that it would be significantly closer, but it just looks like the Jet 2 is massively superior to the Fighter. Trying to take into account there is slightly less aluminium used for the Jet 2, and you've got to pay 3 tungsten for the Jet 2, so that's a factor as well I need to take into account. But it looks like the difference in air attack, the difference in air defense, the difference in maximum speed has a massive impact siding for the Jet 2. Once again, Jets are something that you rarely see in games, but overall, at the late game period, if you were to stack the stats on this, you would do some incredible damage. Let's not take into account that I've not upgraded any of these planes. For instance, I could have upgraded them, give them more attack, more engine, more range, for instance. And to top that off as well, you could take advantage of the officer cores as well to get even bigger bonuses. Oh, but it doesn't affect the jets. That's interesting. There are specific jet companies, but they're only for certain countries. Also, Jet 2s, you lose more manpower. That's also another big factor as well. Well, there you go, guys. That was a really interesting breakdown of a 1-for-1 comparison to try and compare the stats of 2 specific equipment types fighting out. I'd really like to see how strategic bombers, like for like, compare to maybe heavy fighters or fighters versus heavy fighters. That would be kind of interesting. Anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe. I love you. Bye-bye. This video technically is part 2.